So, wait lang ha. So, I'm already recording the video. Tapos, itong PowerPoint na to, actually, it's just a summary ng mga sinend ko. Okay? So, patingi-tingi lang. May kinuha ako from this one and from that one. So, patingi-tingi lang siya. So, don't worry. Meron naman tayo lahat nito. Okay? Wait lang ha. Okay. Sige. So let's start. Taxation on Individuals Part 1. Again, I'll be calling on people to recite. I hope that everyone joins in. So, introduction to taxation. Di ba last meeting or our previous meeting, na-discuss na natin yung theories on taxation. So, for this meeting, we will be discussing the general concepts of income tax and yung first part ng taxation on individuals. Okay. So first question, what is income and what is the difference between gross income and taxable income? Can anyone tell me? Okay.
Hello, sir.
Sige, Keo. By the way, if you want to recite,
Hello, sir.
kindly raise your hands. Di ba may option yung mag-raise ng hand? Okay, doon ko kasi makikita. Kasi if mag-hello lang kayo, di ko mananotice kung sino yung nagsasalita. Okay, si Keo muna.
Okay,
Keo.
hello, sir. So, sir, income is it is the best measure the taxpayer's ability to pay tax po. Pati po it means any revenue, income, earnings po and money made by a person which may be subjected to tax po.
Okay. What's the difference between gross income and taxable income?
So for me, sir, I think, sir, gross income is includes all the income you receive po. While taxable income is like a portion of gross income which is actually subjected to taxation po.
Okay, thank you. Very good.
Thank you
Okay.
po.
So what is income? Yung nga, tama yung sinabi ni Keo. Income is basically the thing that is subjected to tax. And bakit ba natin sinasubject to again? Again, because of the need of the government. And bakit income ang ginagamit natin? Because basically, income is said to be the best measure of a taxpayer's ability to pay tax. Lahat naman daw kasi ng tao nagkakaroon ng income or earns income. And therefore, in order for the government to determine kung magkano yung babayaran niya or magkano yung babayaran ng isang tao, ang ginagamit nating measure is usually yung income ng isang tao. Because ito do yung way na nagde-determine kung magkano yung kinikita ng tao or malaki ba or hindi. Okay. So, typically, what's the difference between gross income and taxable income? Gross income refers to the entire pie. Okay, it refers to the entire amounts earned by a person. Okay, so and it's an entirety daw. While taxable income refers to the portion that is only subjected to tax. Okay, if you want to imagine, parang imagine ka na lang ng what's this? Try to imagine anong tawag dito? Try to imagine pizza, okay? So, the entire pizza pie is known as gross income. Okay, so ibig sabihin buo pa siya. While taxable income refers only to a few slices within the pizza. So yun ang main concept ng income at saka gross income and taxable income. So yung slices ng pizza, doon lang pwedeng bawasan or doon lang pwedeng patungan ng taxes. Okay. So thank you for that, Keo. Okay,
Thank you po, sir.
move on. Wait lang ah. Bakit wala ka sa list dito? Anong section?
Hello, sir.
Section.
Section C po, sir.
Wait lang ha, double check ko daw. Kasi baka
Ah,
section B ito na-download ko.
okay, sir.
Wait lang. Section B ito ba ito? Section B pala na-download ko kaya wala pangalan mo. Okay. Congrats pala sa kuya mo.
Thank you po, sir.
Score na.
Opo, sir. Sana all.
Oo. So, soon, magiging ano ka rin. CPA.
Sana bigay ni Lord, sir.
CPA lawyer na. Oo. Sige, wait lang ha. Kasi kailangan kong every time kasi nagre-recite kayo, nilagay ko yung scores nyo. Okay? So don't worry, matataas naman usually yung mga scores ng mga tao. At di ako nang babagsak pag online classes usually. Unless pag deserving na talaga ng tao or di siya nagpa-participate. Okay. So don't worry, it's not about the grades talaga ngayon. It's about what you learn, di ba? Kasi I know na it's very difficult for all of us. Okay. So thank you for that, Keo. Okay. Next, let's hear it up with para ayoko kasi lakapon almost 3 hours kami. Just mahaba talaga. 103 yung slides. Okay, what are the elements of gross income? There are three elements to gross income. Can anyone tell me the first element? Okay,
Sir, the first
wait,
element,
wait,
sir,
wait. Akong tatawag. Uh,
nawali, sir.
Usman.
Ah,
Hi, sir.
Sige,
Lakson, Lakson Usman po.
sige.
So yung first element po ng gross income is that it is a return on capital that increases net worth.
Okay. Can you define what do you mean by that? Kindly further explain.
So first po, um, let me explain what is the definition of capital. So capital po is any wealth or property ng let's say ng business or entity or whatsoever. However, hindi po lahat ng when we talk about capital is parang elements of gross income kasi po mostly po ang tinitake lang po into consideration when we talk about capital are those that actually um, increases the net worth of the business. Specifically po is yung mga wait po. Like for example po yung mga returns on capital like services or yung mga business operations po whatsoever, yun po yung parang nag-i-increase sa net worth ng business po. Yun po like yung mga sales like that, ano pa ba? Sales services or like merchandise when you sell merchandise whatsoever. Yun po yung mga nag-i-increase po sa net worth. Technically income. Yun po.
Okay, sige. Thank you. Very nice explanation. So the first element is that i-discuss ko one by one ha. So, by the way, yung second, who wants to report on the second one and the third one? Second one is by Bidal. Okay, for the third one, we have Nachor. Sige. Ready lang kayo ha kasi tatawagan ko kayo. Kasi explain ko muna yung first one. Okay, so there are actually three main elements in order for an item to be declared or to be said to be part or to be recognized as gross income. So yung first element is that it is a return on capital that increases net worth. So what do we mean by return on capital? Okay. So, first of all, kailangan muna natin malaman ano ba tong capital na to? Lahat ba ng binabasa natin or lahat ba ng na alam natin capital ba? No, di ba? So, basically, uh, capital represents any form of wealth or property that a person has. Okay, so any type of property daw or pera na meron ng isang tao. So, ano bang binibase natin when we talk about gross income? So, please take note on the wording. It's a return on. Okay? Ibig sabihin, may capital ka at nag-invest ka. Okay? So, return on capital or gross income is a form of a return of the investment that you have made. So, return on capital is a return on the investment made, while return of capital is merely a return of the investment made. Okay. So, ibig sabihin, gross income daw, ibig sabihin, tubo to or kita. So, please take note that in order for an item to be considered as an element of gross income, kailangan may kita ka, okay? Or tumubo yung amount ng pera na ininvest mo. Please take note that it must also increase your net worth. Okay, ibig sabihin tumaas yung value mo as a person or as a business, di ba? Sa accounting pa to, tumaas yung equity portion mo. So that is what we mean by an element of gross income. In order for you to be recognized as an element, kailangan nakakapagtaas siya ng value ng isang tao or ng isang business. So example, if may sales ka, okay, paano ba natin i-differentiate yung return on income or return on capital at saka return of capital? So if may sales ka na 850 pesos, cost of sales na 380 at income na 470, okay, let us now try to differentiate yung tatlo. So yung sales mo, ang tawag natin dyan is yung total return. Ito yung lahat ng bumalik sa iyo. Kasama na yung capital mo at saka yung ganansya mo o yung kita mo. Meanwhile, yung cost na 380, this is what we call the return of capital. Ito yung amount na ininvest mo. So, ibig sabihin, invest ka ng 380, bumalik sa'yo 470. And itong 470 or tawag natin income is what we call the return on capital. So, ito din yung bumalik sa'yo. Okay. So, yun ang basically ng concept on return on capital. So, this means that pag nagbi-business ka or pag may binibenta ka, only yung kita lang or yung sa Chabacano pa, ganansya. Okay? O yung net amount lang yung i-recognize natin as part of gross income. Okay. So, what happens if yung capital mo has infinite value? Okay? Paano daw pag yung asset natin or yung item natin has infinite value? Okay? What will happen? Okay? Anong mangyayari dito pag ganun yung case? Uh, If an item has infinite value and cannot be properly valuated, such as life, health, reputation, and certain works of art or properties, okay? So any amount paid for the loss of these items, or any amount na binabayaran natin as a compensation for these items is only considered as a return of capital. Okay guys ha? Katulad ng pag nabangga ka, tapos binayaran yung taong nakabangga sa'yo, hindi yung kita but rather this is only a return of capital. 'Di ba kasi nawalan ka ng health or nabawasan or na-diminish yung health mo. So therefore, since of infinite value yun, any amounts paid for in behalf is only considered as a return of capital. Okay. Example nga ng mga items na to is meron tayong life, health, at saka human reputation. Okay? Any amounts paid for this are only considered or are only generally considered as recovery of lost capital. So example, pag naglalakad ka daw sa La Purisima at nag-cross ka ng street at may nakabangga sa'yo na kotse, okay? So pag dinala ka sa ospital at kinasuhan mo yung nakabangga sa'yo, the court granted you, let's say, 100,000 hospital fees plus 1 million. Yung 1 million na yun is yung moral damages daw. So yung 100,000 at saka yung 1 million is what we call recovery of lost capital. Okay? This is only as prepayment or as serves as a payment for any loss of health na nangyari sa'yo. Meanwhile, pag binayaran ka ng for lost income mo, di ba sabi mo, di ako nakapagtrabaho ng 1 month dahil sa'yo. Okay, dahil sa nabangga mo ako. So any amounts paid for any lost profits or lost income is considered as recovery of lost profit and therefore subject to or it will be considered as an element of gross income. Okay, please take note ha, if recovery of lost capital or recovery of lost profit. If recovery of lost profit siya, in-increase yung value mo as a person. Therefore, you should be subjected to percentage tax. Okay? Any questions muna before we move on? Wala. Okay, so let's go on. What's the second one? Sino yung sinabi ko?
Ako, sir.
Sino si ako? Nakalimutan ko pa.
Vidal, sir.
So, Vidal. Okay, so Vidal, kindly explain the second portion.
The second elements of gross income is realized benefit. So there are two concepts in realized benefit, the realized concept and benefit concept. So first, I will discuss the benefit concept. So the term benefits, it is formed because it is an advantage derived for the taxpayer. Parang benefit yon ng kung ano yung naibigay natin and then may makukuha tayo, yun yung benefit na yun. And that also, kanina na-discuss ni Lacson that return on capital is an increase in the net worth of taxpayer. Also, benefit is an increase in the net worth of the taxpayer. And an increased net worth occurs when someone receives income or donation or inheritance. So, yun yung benefits. Next, for the realized concept, yung term na realize, it means something that you earned. It requires that there's a degree of sacrifice or an undertaking from the taxpayer. Yun na nga yung sinabi ko na it is something na may naibigay ka and then you gain something from it. So that is also realized. So to sum it all, we have requisites of realized benefits. So first, there must be an exchange transaction. Second, the transaction involves another entity. And third, it increases the net worth of the recipient or the taxpayer itself. And lastly, therefore, benefits, it is derived from onerous transactions. So that they are earned or they are realized. That is why it is called realized benefit, and that it is part of the elements of gross income.
Okay. Thank you for that. Wait lang. Okay. So thank you for that, Ms. Vidal. It's a very comprehensive definition, di ba? Okay. So the second element of gross income is that there must be a realized benefit. Okay. So what do we mean by this? So sinasabi niya is that in order for an item to be recognized as part or to be recognized as gross income, ang sabi niya dito is that dapat may benepisyo kang na na-realize. So what do we mean by benefit? So benefit means any form of advantage derived by a taxpayer. Hence, in order for an item to be recognized as gross income, the taxpayer must have realized. What do we mean by realize? Dapat nagamit mo or na-earn mo. Okay? Yung amount na to. Okay. So, which cause an increase in the net worth of the taxpayer. So, actually, when we talk about realized benefits, tatlo yung requisites dito. Number one is that there must be an exchange transaction. What do we mean by an exchange transaction? This means that this involves 2 to 3 people. Basically 2 or more people. Okay, ibig sabihin nag-exchange ba kayo or nagbibigayan kayo? May bibigay ka sa kanya, may ibibigay siya sa iyo. Okay. So that's the first requisite. Number two is that of course, if there's an exchange transaction, nagpapalitan kayo, di naman pwedeng makipagpalitan ka sa sarili mo. So it must involve another entity. So that's the second requirement. So typically, it must involve 2 or more entities. Okay? And thirdly is that the transaction must increase your net worth. Okay? So if the transaction does not increase your net worth, of course, wala kang benefit, di ba? Paano ka naman nabe-benefit dun kapag wala namang increase sa net worth mo? So typically, if there is an increase in net worth and you have an exchange transaction, nagkakaroon daw tayo ng realized benefit. Okay, so please take note ha. If there is only one person who is giving or nagbibigay, that is considered as a gratuitous transfer or a donation. And this does not constitute uh, or it does not form part of gross income. Bakit? Kasi isang tao lang nagbibigay. It does not meet all the requisites. So in order for exchanges to happen, okay, or in order for a realized benefit to happen, or in order for there to be a realized benefit, there must be an exchange. Examples of exchange are onerous transactions arising from sale or nagbabarter, di ba? Ngayon, sa ano to, sa dahil sa COVID na uso dati yung barter, di ba? Pinagpapalit yung mga old things for new things. So that is considered typically as a exchange transaction. Okay? So typically, only exchange transactions may be considered as part of or is considered typically as a part of gross income. Okay. Sir, paano pag may complex transactions? So typically, if there are complex transactions, only the onerous portion is subject to income tax. What do we mean by onerous or what do we mean by complex transactions? This means that the transaction reflects both onerous and gratuitous transfer. Paano nangyayari to? So let's have an example. Okay? Kung kailan nagkakaroon ng complex transactions. Okay. So a complex transaction typically occurs when a person sells a property for less than its fair value. So example, we have this case. Pio had a piece of land worth 300,000. He sold the land to Andre for 550. However, the piece of land had a fair value of 700,000 at the date of sale. So, this is what we call a complex transaction. So, yung cost niya, 300,000, binenta niya ng 550. So, yung difference na 250, yan yung masasubject sa income tax. Okay? And this is what we call the exchange portion, yung 250 na difference. However, di ba, matatanong mo sa sarili mo, bakit mo binenta yung isang bagay for less than its fair value? So, ibig sabihin, maybe your intent was you wanted to donate the property for less than its cost or for less than its fair value. So, sabi ni BIR or sabi ng gobyerno, pag ganitong case, yung difference will be considered as a donation. So, since yung fair value is 700,000 at saka yung selling price is 550, of course, ano to? Of course na yung difference of 150 will be subject to a gratuitous transfer or will be considered as a gratuitous transfer and therefore subject to donor's tax. Okay, so ganito yung complex transaction. Okay. However, guys, it's on a case-to-case basis. Depende naman sa situation. Baka naman the transactions or the situation reflects that you cannot really sell the property for its fair value. Okay? Please take note, complex transactions, according to the Train Act, complex transactions does not necessarily subject an item to transfer taxes. Kailangan muna malaman natin yung nature ng transaction sa actual sale. Okay? Kailangan muna malaman natin bakit ba ganito ang nangyari. Okay? You need to ask yourself, why did that happen? Okay. So that's it for realized benefit. So what are modes of realization? Meron tayong dalawa. Meron tayong actual at saka constructive. So di na natin, it's very self-explanatory. So let's go on to the third one. Sino yung third one? Si Nachor.
Opo, ako po, sir.
Sige.
So, the last element of gross income is that it is not exempted by law, contract, or treaty. So, bale, this element is very self-explanatory lang. So, I will keep this short. As we all know, gross income, di ba, is all income that you receive. However, it is not explicitly exempt from taxation. There are items of gross income that are exempted from taxation, pero most of these items involve items that are deemed with parang infinite value. Yun
Okay.
po.
So thank you for that. Actually, the third one is very self-explanatory. Okay. So, what do we mean by this one? Of course, in order for an item to be considered as part of gross income, dapat di siya exempted by law, contract, or treaty. If an item is exempted by law, contract, or treaty, therefore, hindi na siya magiging gross income, di ba? Because there is no income. Hindi naman siya masasubject according sa tax code. So therefore, only those items which are subjected or not exempted can be considered as part of our gross income. Okay? Any questions, clarifications, violent reactions?
None, sir.
Oh, wala naman. Okay, actually very self-explanatory naman yung tax code. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so let's check. Okay, let's have a sample problem. Okay, who wants to volunteer to answer this one? Okay, si Suga. Sino to? Si Daishita ba yun?
Apo, hi sir.
Hello, sige, wait lang. Everyone, I'll give you 5 minutes to answer. It's 2:34, 2:40. We will meet back, i-answer natin to. Okay, use the time to check kung basahin nyo yung problem at i-answer natin afterwards. Okay. So, you have you have 5 minutes to answer this one. Okay, for the rest, answer nyo dito. I'll be back after 5 minutes. Sa mga nakapag-answer na, okay, pwede na kayong kumuha ng tubig or ano ba. Okay, so for the rest, try to answer this one. Okay. Okay, sige. Answer na natin. Sige, Miss Sugiyama. And
Hi,
which of the
sir.
following out of the 10
Okay,
should
okay.
be part of gross income?
Okay. Yung first po na sale of car to brother for lower than market value, hindi siya included sa gross income kasi
Okay.
since ano siya sir, lower siya than market value, hindi magi-increase yung net worth niya. That's why hindi siya kasama. Second, gift to Jose Casin. Hindi siya kasali sir sa gross income kasi transfer siya sir. Walang exchange na naganap sir.
Okay.
Third, winnings from gambling. Ito sir, kasali siya kasi stated sa definition ng gross income na whatever source, legal man or illegal, that increases net worth is part siya ng gross income. Third, earnings from drug sale. Since may exchange na naganap dito sir, may realized na gain, kasama siya sa gross income. Third, increase in value of jewelry. Ito sir, hindi siya included sa gross income kasi stated po dito sa taas na items that increases in wealth or value without any materialization is not subject to income tax. Six, debt canceled by Naomi out of kindness. Since yung utang sir is na-cancel siya out of kindness, hindi po yan siya part ng gross income kasi ano lang siya sir. Kumbaga parang donation, parang gratitude gift lang siya sir. Seven, debt canceled by Ferdinand for work done. Since may kapalit naman sir, may ginawang work si Ferdinand, kasama siya sa gross income. So parang ano siya sir, para siyang constructive realization kasi may ginawang work naman si Ferdinand. Eight is loan received from Mumbai. Eto sir, hindi siya kasali kasi if makaka-receive ka ng loan, meaning may obligation ka pa rin na bayaran yun. Tapos since Bombay man sir, so into higher amount pa. So ang nangyari dyan is, meron lang transfer, pero it is not a benefit. Tapos nine, interest income. Syempre parang ano na sir na ano yan siya, gross income, kasali yun. And yung earnings din for business, since again, meron namang realized gain dyan kasi may exchange, kasama din po ayan siya sa gross income. Yun, sir.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Very clear and concise yung explanation.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
So actually, yung mga kasali or mako-consider is number 3, winnings from gambling kasi regardless kung legal or legal, since you benefited, of course, i-recognize natin. Earnings from drug sale, kasali. Tapos debt cancelled out of work done kasi parang ano na siya, nangyari dito is nagtrabaho ka tapos yung binayaran mo sa'yo, yun na lang ang kinancel yung ano, yun na lang ang ginawang pambayad o yung utang mo kinancel na lang as payment. Tapos interest income and earnings. Okay. So itong mga items na to, these are the items that are considered as part of gross income. So sa mga di nakakuha or di na-gets, I hope na you'll be able to get it later on. Okay. So for the rest, itong sale of car, since di naman sinabi yung other item, di natin masasabi yung entire amount. So therefore, yung 802 di na masasali or di natin isasali. Yung gift, of course, gratuitous transfer, increase in value of jewelry, it does not increase your net worth, increase in value lang siya. That canceled out of the kindness, again, gratuitous transfer, and loan. It does not increase your net worth. So therefore, wala. So, if again, infinite value, okay, it is only a return of capital. Okay, and there is no gross income. Okay, what are the types of taxpayers? Can anyone tell me the two types of taxpayers? Sige, si Betty Rose. Nandito ba yan? Si Miss Rubio.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. So, taxpayers can be classified into two major categories, namely individual and corporation.
Okay,
So,
sige, continue.
okay, sir. So, individual taxpayers are natural persons with income derived within the territorial jurisdiction of a taxing authority. So, dito sa Pilipinas. These individual taxpayers are further classified into two major general classifications, namely citizens and aliens. So, citizens, under the Section 1, Article 3 of the Philippine Constitution, a Filipino citizen is he who is born by birth with father and or mother as Filipino citizens. So dapat pinanganak dito as Filipino. So born before January 17, 1973, of Filipino mother who elects Philippine citizenship upon reaching the age of majority. And third, acquired Philippine citizenship after birth in accordance with the Philippine laws. Now, classification of citizens. We have the resident citizen and the non-resident citizen. Now, resident citizen. It is a Filipino citizen who stayed permanently in the Philippines or stayed outside the Philippines for less than 183 days during the taxable year. On the other hand, non-resident citizen is a Filipino citizen who stayed outside the Philippines for 183 days or more during the taxable year and has established proof to the Commissioner of Internal Revenue of his definite intention to reside outside the Philippines on a permanent basis as an immigrant or employee. Yun
Okay,
po, sir.
sige.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Okay. So actually, there are two general classifications of taxpayers. Okay. We have the citizen, individuals, and we have the corporations. Okay. To further summarize kasi naka-display naman at naka-explain na kung sino-sino sila. Okay, individuals are those individual personnels while corporations reflects non-living entities or juridical entities. Okay, this may include uh, ano to? This may include corporations, partnerships, joint ventures, and such. Basta di sila living, yun ang mga corporations. So, under individuals, there are two major categories. Number one is what we call citizens, okay? And number two, aliens. Aliens actually reflect yung mga foreigners, okay? Another term for aliens are foreigners, okay ha? So, according sa tax code, tawag lang sa kanila aliens. Pero for the layman's term, foreigners ang tawag sa kanila. Uh, can someone turn off their,
Hello, good afternoon.
hello, can someone turn off their,
Kung este, ma'am?
Miss
Ay, si
Ogradiel,
Ma'am
can you
Gina.
turn off,
Mikey, Ma'am Jean. Si. Sige to.
Ma'am, Miss Ogradiel, turn off your sound, please. Okay. Turn off nyo yung ano nyo ha, please. Okay. So, for citizens, ito yung mga Filipino citizen. Okay? These are typically Filipinos or Filipino na nakatira dito. So, actually, dalawa yung classification ng citizens. We have resident and we have non-resident. So, typically, sino yung mga residents? Ito yung mga Pinoy na nakatira sa Philippines. Meanwhile, non-residents are those Filipinos who are not living or who are not within the Philippines. Okay? Or who do not stay within the Philippines. So, sino-sino ba talaga yung mga non-resident citizen? Of course, meron tayong mga immigrants at saka yung nagwo-work sa labas. Meron rin tayong mga citizen nagwo-work or kinukuha nila yung income nila sa abroad and nagre-require sa kanila na nasa abroad sila. A good example of this one is yung mga seaman. And of course, yung mga non-resident citizen dati, tapos nasa Philippines ngayon, anytime the taxable year. So for the taxable year, nagiging non-resident pa rin sila. Another consideration when it comes to non-resident citizen is the time na outside of the Philippines sila. Okay, so typically, you are a non-resident citizen if you are outside of the Philippines for more than 183 days. Okay? So, if more than 183 days wala ka sa Pilipinas, you are considered as a non-resident citizen. Okay. Yes. Wait lang ha. May tanong si Miss Santos. Kasali yung taxable estates and trust. Of course, kasali siya. I-explain ko pa. Okay. So, again, sa citizens, sa citizen, di ba? So again, dalawa lang yun sila. Next, for aliens, aliens are classified against Again, according to resident and non-resident. So, sino ba si resident? Sino si non-resident? Okay. So, resident aliens are those who are staying within the Philippines but are not citizens thereof. Okay. So, technically, sila yung mga wala silang plano or di na, nila alam kung kailan sila aalis. Wala non-resident alien, okay, are those aliens who do not stay and who do not reside within the Philippines. Okay. So yun lang naman yung main classification. For non-resident alien or NRAs, they can be further subdivided or segregated into two types. Are you engaged in trade or business, or are you not engaged in trade or business? So anong distinction? Of course, if you're engaged in trade or business, the main point here is that nagnenegosyo ka ba or hindi. However, if the point or if it is not clear with regards to your intention, whether you're actually engaging in trade or business, uh, we look at the year. So if you are staying for less than 1 year but more than 180 days, you are considered as engaged in trade or business. However, if you are staying in the Philippines for less than 180 days, of course, uh, you are considered as, what's this? You are considered as not engaged in trade or business. Okay. So yun ang two main classifications of aliens. Okay. Wait lang ha. Excuse me. I'll call someone lang muna. Hello, sir. Hello. Lumampas ata kayo sa amin. Nandito lang kami malapit sa fruit stand. Sa may ano lang. Sa may malapit sa may ano. Prince Carinderia. Ah, sige, sige. Thank you. Salamat. Okay. So for corporations, okay, sorry. For individuals, again, the first thing that we need to check is yung intention nila. Of course, the intention would dictate whether they would be considered as resident or non-resident or engage in trade or business or not engage in trade or business. However, pag ang intention di natin alam, di naman klaro, di ba? Okay. Katulad, parang sabi nga nila, pag nagchat-chat, di nyo alam yung ano nyo, yung status nyo. So, friends lang ba kayo or more than? So, katulad ng ganun, pag declare yung intention, i-check natin yung length of stay. Okay. For citizens, if you stay in the Philippines for more than 183 days, you are considered as a resident citizen. Okay? For if you are staying for less than 183 days within a given year, you are considered as a non-resident citizen. For aliens, if more than 1 year ka, you are considered as a resident alien. If 1 year but more than 180 days, you are non-resident alien ETB. Okay? And if less than 180 days, you are considered as NRA and ETB. Okay, so shortcut na lang natin kasi masyadong mahaba pagbabasahin natin. Okay. And of course, the third class of individuals, meron tayong taxable estates and trust. Okay. So, ano tong estates and trust? Di na muna natin masyadong di-discuss kasi nasa tax to siya. Just take note of what they are according to definition. Okay? So, next are corporate taxpayers. There are two types of corporate taxpayers. We have domestic corporations and of course foreign corporations. So, sino ba tong mga domestic corporations? These are individuals or corporations which are incorporated and organized within Philippine laws. Meanwhile, foreign corporations are organized within foreign laws. Okay, so example ng domestic is Jollibee. Example ng foreign is yung McDonald's US. Okay, so foreign corporations can be further subdivided into resident foreign and non-resident foreign. So paano ba natin malalaman pag resident foreign siya or non-resident foreign? So sabi ng tax code, typically resident foreign ka daw pag nag-ooperate ka at nagko-contact ka ng business within the Philippines through a permanent establishment. Meanwhile, a non-resident NRFC or non-resident foreign corporation is one which does not operate and conduct business in the Philippines. Okay. Giselle, pakibaba daw, may grab yun doon. Pakikuha na lang. Oo. Okay. So, paano ba natin malalaman kung resident siya or non-resident foreign corporation? Of course, through a permanent establishment. Ano ba tong permanent establishment? So, ibig sabihin ng permanent establishment is may branch ka ba niya sa Philippines or may building ka ba or may a fixed permanent location ka ba na nasa Philippines? Okay? Upon which you operate and you conduct business. So yun ang main determination whether you are a resident or non-resident foreign corporation. So bakit ba natin pinag-aaralan to? Kasi may epekto sa type of taxability nila. Okay. So hindi na muna natin pag-uusapan magkano yung tax rates because we are only discussing the type of taxpayers first. Of course, we also have other types of taxpayers. Meron tayong partnerships, joint ventures, and co-ownerships. Kindly take note na lang. Okay? Very self-explanatory na ang mga points na to. So, ngayon, bakit ba natin pinag-aaralan yung distinction between citizen ka ba, alien, non-resident, or resident? Because it will have an effect on what types of income ang isasali natin for consideration. Of course, so kindly take note of the general rules in income taxation. We have income within the Philippines and income without. So what do we mean income without? This is income outside of the Philippines. Okay? So, income without of the Philippines is considered or typically considered uh, yung mga income na earn natin sa labas ng Pilipinas. So, sino lang ba ang pwedeng taksan dito? So, if you look at this, only resident citizens are the ones being taxed on income outside. Okay. And domestic corporations. Bakit sila? What's the rationale behind them being the ones taxed here? So actually, ang rationale is that ang sinasabi nila is that since they are the ones who have the most benefit or who gain the most benefit from the Philippines, therefore tataksan natin sila sa lahat ng income nila sa loob ng Pilipinas at sa labas ng Pilipinas. Meanwhile, for the rest, non-resident citizen at saka yung mga aliens at saka yung mga foreign corporations, yung taxing natin is only within the Philippines. Okay? Any questions and or clarifications? May tanong ba?
Wala na ata, sir.
Okay, since wala, let's move on to our next topic. Okay. Next topic is what are the different statuses of income? Okay, wag muna natin, ako lang mag-ano ha. So, di ba, last meeting sabi ko di natin i-discuss to. Kasi yun nga, the status of income is discussed throughout the book over several chapters or several discussions. So, what do we mean by situs? Situs means territory or location of the income. Ibig sabihin, saan ba siya tataksan? So for the different incomes, we have, ito yung mga situs nila. For interest income, debtor's residence. So saan ba ang location ng taong nangungutang? Debtor ba? Correct ba? Sino ba si debtor? Nakalimutan ko na lang. Tignan nyo, nabobobo na tayo dito sa bahay. Okay, so debtor is yung taong may utang. Okay, so saan located yung taong may utang? Doon yung location uh, ng ng income. Next is royalties, where the property is employed. So ibig sabihin kung saan daw ginagamit yung royalty, of course doon ang location ng royalties na yun. For rent income, location of the property, of course. Service income, place where the service is being rendered. So pag nagre-render ka ng service, of course, kung saan mo nire-render yung service, doon located. Gain on sale of properties, okay, depende. Pag domestic securities, this is presumed na earned siya within the Philippines. Pag others, earned where the property is sold. So, depende daw kung saan located ang property. Pag real property, of course, kung saan located ang property. Okay? Then we have dividend income. Pag domestic corporation, presumed earned within the Philippines. Pag foreign corporation, gagamitin natin yung predominance test. So ano tong predominance test? Irarasyo natin or i-ratio natin yung Philippine income over world gross income ng company na nagbibigay ng dividend income sa atin over the 3-year period. So if at least 50% ng income niya galing sa Philippines, i-declare natin within. Okay? If less than 50%, without. Okay. And for merchandise income, of course, i-classify natin siya where the property is sold, and manufacturing income where the goods are manufactured and sold. Okay. So take note na lang. Actually, this is completely described or explained doon naman sa PowerPoints ko at nasa book nyo. So kindly take note na lang. Okay. So next. Okay. What are the income tax schemes? Okay. Can anyone tell me? Okay, Apuli.
Ay, hello sir.
Yes, what are the income tax schemes?
So the income taxation schemes there are three. So the first is final income taxation, second is capital gains taxation, and third is regular income taxation. So for the final income taxation, it is characterized by final taxes wherein full taxes are withheld by the income payer at source. The recipient income taxpayers receive the income net of taxes. So, for example, if kung manalo kayo sa loto sa isang lotto outlet, um if if kailangan magbayad ng tax is ang magbabayad ng tax is yung yung agent na mismo or yung lotto outlet na mismo through the government. So you don't need to file for income tax return. So next is capital gains transaction. Ay, capital gains taxation. So capital gains taxation is imposed on the gains realized on the sale, exchange, and the other disposition of certain capital assets. So capital assets are assets not used in business or trade or
Buksan niyo na yung
profession.
pizza. Buksan niyo na.
So this is ay wait lang. And the ordinary assets are assets used in business, trade, or professions such as inventory, supplies, or property, plant, and equipment. So capital gains are not subject to income income tax, but it is subject to capital gains tax. Next is, and the last is regular income taxation. So the regular income taxation is items of income that are not capital gains or uh, included in the final income, which is active income such as compensations of workers and other income such as gains from dealings in properties not
Tatlo yan.
subject to capital gains tax and other passive income not subject to final tax. So as the as the terms as the terms mentioned that it is regular income tax is subject to income taxation. Ito lang po, sir.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Apuli. Okay, very comprehensive and very clear examples. Okay, so there are actually three income tax schemes. We have final income tax, FIT, CGT for capital gains tax, and RIT for regular income tax. So please take note that each one of these are mutually exclusive. Ibig sabihin, pag meron ka na sa isa, bawal na sa iba ha. So isa lang talaga guys. Okay. So for each of the income taxes or for each of the schemes, let us now discuss. Okay. So final income tax is typically characterized by final taxes. Okay. So what do we mean by final taxes? Pag nataksan ka na dito, di ka na pwedeng taksan ulit. And there is no need for you to remit or to report this income. Okay? So typically, when we have final income tax, this is typically subjected to passive income. What do we mean by passive income? This is income earned with very minimal or even without active involvement. While active income is earned with active involvement. Okay. So typically yung final income tax daw sinasubject lang natin sa mga items that are considered as passive income. Okay. Next is for capital gains tax. So it is imposed on the capital gain or sale or exchange on disposition of certain capital assets. So pag nagbebenta ka doon ng capital assets, masasubject ka to CGT. Pero di daw lahat. So ano ba? First of all, ano bang capital assets? Capital assets basically are all other assets na hindi considered as ordinary assets. So basically, catch-all basin siya. So ano ba yung ordinary assets? Yun ang kailangan muna nating malaman. Okay, ordinary assets are assets that are directly used in business, trade, or your profession. So pag ginagamit siya sa trade or business, okay, these are considered as ordinary assets. Okay, example ng capital assets, yung mga investment properties or yung mga lupa na di ginagamit. Okay, so if it is an investment property or capital asset, typically anong mangyayari? Pag may capital asset tayo, okay, masasubject siya to capital gains tax. And lastly is we have regular income tax. Basically, regular income tax is the rule. What do we mean by this? It means that pag di kasali or pag subject ka sa regular income tax, or all forms of income are generally subjected to regular income tax unless you fall under the exemption, which is capital gains tax or final income tax. So this means that regular income tax actually covers almost all forms of income, from active to passive to gains in dealings in properties. Okay? So yun ang general rule, or yun ang meaning ng regular income tax. Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Apuli. Okay. Next is, now we will move on towards our chapter 7. O, tapos na tayo sa chapter 3 and 4. So we will now move on to chapter 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Now we have introduction to regular income tax. Okay. So what is the RIT model? Ako na tatawag ha. Andres. Is Andres here? Andres? Wala si Andres dito? Wala. Okay. Balatbat.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you tell me what is the RIT model?
RIT model, sir.
Ito, what is the RIT model?
The definition, sir, or the characteristics?
Hindi, yung model talaga, yung
Ang
formula.
model lang?
Yes.
So, ang RIT model, sir, is you start with the gross income less allowable deductions, and then that's the taxable income less tax rate, and then you get the net income.
Okay, thank you for that. Ganun lang. Okay?
Po.
So the RIT model is very simple and very easy to understand. Okay. So the RIT model tells us that regular income tax is computed as follows. Meron kang gross income less allowable deductions, makukuha natin yung taxable income. Okay? So yung taxable income natin, multiply mo by the corresponding tax rate, makukuha na natin yung net income. Okay, so this is how we compute for our net income in that tax code. Okay. Okay. Sino-sino dyan? Ano apelido niya?
Nojang po, sir. Diana Nojang.
Okay.
Thank you po, sir.
Sino pa? Okay, sige. So, next is, what are the characteristics of RIT? Can anyone tell me? Sige, Al-Misri, Mr. Usman.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Bale, there are 4 characteristics of RIT. First is general in coverage. Second, a net income tax. Third, an annual tax. Fourth, creditable withholding tax. General in coverage, income tax applies to all types income except those subject to final tax, capital gains tax, and special tax regimes. Tapos, ang net income naman, net income tax, it is the imposition on the residual profits or gains made after deducting expenses. Ang third, an annual tax. It is taxed annually on the person and applies on profits or gains made. And fourth is creditable withholding tax. Most income is subject to creditable withholding tax, which is withheld at source by the payer to be paid to the BIR. It is an advance tax deductible against annual income tax. Yung sir.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Usman. Okay, so actually there are 4 characteristics to RIT. Number 1 is that, of course, real income tax is general in coverage. As what I explained kanina, di ba? Regular income tax covers all. Okay? So all encompassing siya. Okay. Number 2 is that, of course, from what we have explained beforehand, okay,
Uh, from what we have explained beforehand, of course, regular income tax, inimpose lamang natin sa net income. Okay? And number three is that, again, it is tax annually. Or ibig sabihin, charge natin siya annually. Okay? And number four is that it is a creditable withholding tax. What do we mean by this? Uh, ang creditable withholding tax is a form of advanced taxes. Okay? Ibig sabihin, nini-withhold natin siya pag meron nagbabayad sa'yo or gustong magbayad sa'yo, ang ano nangyari is that uh, babawasan mo yung income na ibabayad sa kanya. Tapos anong mangyayari sa bawas na yun, i-remit natin sa government. So that is the concept of creditable withholding tax. To further clarify, example, ikaw ay isang seller ng cellphone. Okay. Nagbebenta ka daw ng iPhone for 100,000. Okay. Binenta mo siya sa isang customer mo. Okay. So, for 100,000 siya. So, you sold it for 100,000. Ngayon, ang binayaran niya sa'yo is 99. Yung 1,000 daw is creditable withholding tax. Okay? So yung 1,000, anong mangyari doon is i-remit niya sa government. So creditable withholding tax is an advance payment by your customer to the government. Okay? So ganun ang concept ng creditable withholding tax. At yung 1,000 na withhold sa'yo or yung 1,000 na di binigay sa'yo, pwede mo i-deduct against your income taxes later on. So yun ang concept ng creditable withholding taxes. Okay. So thank you for that. So ngayon alam na natin yung characteristics. Next is, what do we mean by gross income? Can anyone define what is gross income? Anyone?
Me, sir.
Sige,
Posadas po.
Posadas.
Gross income, it constitutes all income items of income that are neither excluded nor subject to final tax or capital gains tax. So, ibig sabihin niya lang, ito yung mga income na hindi kasali sa final tax and capital gains tax po.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so actually very good explanation. Okay. So, what do we mean by gross income? Actually, gross income constitutes all forms of income that are neither excluded nor subject to final tax or capital gains tax. Okay. So, ano na bang subject sa final tax at saka capital gains tax? Di muna natin i-discuss ngayon. Okay? I-discuss natin siya next week. Okay. Next is, what are deductions? Ano bang ibig sabihin ng deductions? Ruales.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Sige.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Deductions, sir, are expenses in the conduct of business or exercise of profession, and it may be itemized or up to claim optional standard deduction po. Yung sa itemized, taxpayer must support every item of deduction through official receipts, and the optional standard deduction naman po, or OSD, a percentage of gross sales receipts or gross income. Tapos yun
Okay.
po siya, sir.
Okay, thank you for that. Very clear example. Okay. So actually nga, deductions are those permissible or allowable expenses incurred in the trade or business or in the course of trade or business. Okay. So typically, deductions may be itemized or optional standardized. Okay, for now, di muna natin i-discuss anong ibig sabihin ng optional at saka yung itemized. Okay? We will discuss this next meeting when we go on to deductions or the topic of deductions. Okay.
Joanne, naman yung abre todo ha? Di kuya lang to. Uno lang to abre.
Okay lang, oo. Okay. So, that's it for deductions. So ngayon is, what are the items that may comprise of gross income? So ano bang pwedeng masali or ma-consider as part of gross income? Sa Avedra. Is Avedra here? Nandito ba?
Chat siya, sir.
Di kita marinig. Check your sounds.
Sir?
Yes, okay na.
Okay. Holy shit. Sorry. Sir, yun, mga income subject to regular income tax po, sir, is number one yung compensation income, which is yung exchange po, sir. Tapos yung second is business or professional income, which is yung mga income which arise from yung mga regular ano po business and professional ano po ventures. Tapos and other income po, which is non-business income or non-compensation income, such as gains from dealings in properties or other income, passive or active, not subject to final tax. Yun na po, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that clear example. Okay, so wait lang. So there are actually three general classifications or items of income. Number one is compensation income. Ito yung income na na-earn natin from employer-employee relationship. Number two, income earned from our business or from our profession. Okay? And number three is income earned uh, from other sources that are not related to our business and non-compensation such as gains in dealings in properties and other passive and active income. Okay. So ito yung mga items of income na pwedeng ma-consider. Of course, these are not exclusive. Okay? Actually, this is just an initial list. Ibig sabihin, there are other types of income that may be included. Okay. So, pag i-relate natin itong income or items of income sa RIT model natin, paano ba natin siya ipapakita? So, if we are going to show it similar to our RIT model, ganito yung model natin. So, employment income, gross income lang, walang deductions. For business and professional, may gross income tayo at saka deductions, meron makukuha natin yung taxable income. And for others, yung mga other portions, wala ring deductions. So, this is how we present these items or how these items must be noted. Okay. So actually, what do we mean by compensation income? As what I mentioned, these are income earned in an employer-employee relationship. Katulad ko ngayon, I am an employee of ADSU. So any amount earned from here is considered as a compensation income. Okay? So generally, compensation income is classified into two items. Regular pay at saka fringe benefit. Regular pay, ito yung mga normal amounts na binabayaran natin sa mga employees natin. Okay? Meanwhile, for fringe benefits, these are other benefits that are typically and usually not given to employees, but rather are bonuses or add-ons given. Example of fringe benefits is yung mga libre yung driver or free yung maids nyo or free yung kotse. These are considered as fringe benefits. And how do we consider or paano ba natin siya i-consider? Okay, depende sa type of employee. Pag rank and file ka or managerial. If you are a rank and file employee, any regular pay at saka fringe benefit will form part of your compensation income. Meanwhile, if you're a managerial or supervisory employee, only your regular pay will be considered part of your compensation income. And any fringe benefits will be subjected to a fringe benefit tax and is considered as a fringe benefit. So for now, wag na muna natin masyadong pag-usapan to kasi there's another chapter for that. However, because of the lack of time, din talaga natin madidiscuss in full. However, take note lang ha, pag fringe benefit siya, okay, mako-consider siya as fringe benefit and therefore, subject siya to a different type of tax. Hindi siya masasubject to regular income tax. Okay? So, yun lang. So, how do we report for employees? Of course, yung reporting natin is as follows. So, gross compensation income less than taxable income, makukuha natin yung gross taxable compensation income less personal exemptions. There are no more personal exemptions ha, please take note. Then makukuha natin yung net taxable compensation income. Etong net taxable compensation income, ito yung amount na ilalagay natin dito sa gross income. Nagets ba guys? Understood ba? Intindihan nyo? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Again,
sir. Okay
etong
naman, sir.
net taxable compensation income nandito, ito yung ilalagay nyo dito sa taas. Okay? So that's the gross portion na ilalagay natin. So employment income, gross here, is already reduced for any non-taxable portion. Okay. Next, for business income naman, madali lang. May sales ka, less cost of goods sold, or cost of sales, makukuha natin yung gross income. At itong gross income na to, yun ang ilalagay natin sa gross income na nandito. Okay, it's very simple. And of course, yung others naman. Okay. So, paano ba natin or paano yung formula for cost of goods sold? Nandito, na-discuss naman ata to nung nasa basic accounting nyo, di ba? Meron tayong beginning inventory plus purchases, freight in will give us total goods available for sale, less ending, we will have cost of goods sold. So I hope na alam nyo to guys ha. This is one of the basics in accounting. Okay, di ko na to explain kasi na-discuss na to nung sa basic accounting nyo. For professional income, paano ba yung ipapakita natin? Meron tayong revenues or gross receipts less cost of service. Makukuha natin yung gross income. So what do we mean by cost of service? This refers to all direct costs of rendering the service such as labor, materials, and overhead. Okay. Auntie, come pizza. Okay. Wait lang. Give me nawawala yung connection ko for a while. Okay. So yun lang naman ang for cost of service. So how do we report cost of service or how do we report income earned from business or professionals? Kindly take note of this table guys. So it's very important. So meron tayong net sales, revenues, add other taxable income from operation not subjected to final tax, makukuha natin yung total sales natin. Less cost of sales, we will get our gross income from business or profession. Add non-operating income, makukuha natin yung total gross income, tapos yung allowable deduction. So please take note on how we come up with total gross income ha. It's very important kasi it's different for corporations. This is for individuals or per people reporting business or for profession. So kindly take note of kung anong unang i-add at anong i-deduct. Okay? Para makuha yung total gross income. Okay. So, what's the difference between revenue at saka gross income? Please take note. Revenue refers to a gross concept. Okay? It pertains to the total return. Meanwhile, gross income refers to the net concept. Ibig sabihin, it's the return on capital. While revenue is the return of capital or it's the entire amount. Okay? So, take note of that. Next is, ano naman ibig sabihin ng other taxable income from operations? So, ano ba tong other taxable income? Di ba may net sales ka or net revenue? So actually, this refers to incidental or secondary operations or income from secondary operations. So example nito is sa eskwela, di ba? ADSU. Anong main business ni ADSU? It's education. To provide education to students. So kapag yung mga may income siya from tuition fees, income siya from rental, yung sa canteen, so those are only considered as incidental or secondary. 'Di ba? Di naman mahirap naman gagawa ka ng eskwela, wala kang kantin. Paano kakain yung estudyante mo? Okay? So that's what we mean by other taxable income from operations. These are incidental or secondary to your operations. However, they are still vital to your operation. Okay? So example, 'di ba? Pag malaki yung business mo, may food court ka, of course, these are other taxable income. Okay. And what do we mean by non-operating income? Ito yung income na di parte or this does not reflect or this does not come from your operation. Okay. So yun lang man. It's very self-explanatory. Anong kasali dito? Gains from dealings in properties, income distribution from a GPP, casual active income, and passive income not subjected to final tax. So ito yung mga income na din usually or di part ng usual business natin. So, ngayon, di ba sabi ko, it's different when we report for corporations. So this is how we report for individuals. How about for corporations? So corporations is much more simplified. Okay, meron tayong net sales, less cost of sales. If you notice, di ba, nauna si cost of sales. Once nabawasan natin, makukuha na natin si gross income from operations. Then add other taxable income from operation not subjected to final tax. So if you look at this, wala tayong non-operating income. So actually, bawal ang mga corporations from actively involving or from employing non-operating income. Okay, so di sila pwedeng mag-generate ng income from other sources. Okay, so that's why walang non-operating income. So pag meron ka ng gross income from operations, add mo lang yung other taxable income, makukuha na natin yung total gross income. Less allowable deductions, makukuha natin yung net income. Okay, so this is how we report for corporate taxpayers. Take note of the formula because it will have an effect later on. Okay? Are there any questions or clarifications before we move on?
Wala na, sir.
Wala. Okay. So for other matters na tayo. So other matters lang, take note. Paano ba yung rounding off? So ang rounding off dito is if 49 centavos or less, the centavos drop. Tapos pag 50 centavos or more, ira-round up natin sa nearest peso. So example, pag ang amount is 100.49, of course magiging 100 pesos na lang siya. At pag ang amount is 100.50, magiging 101. Okay? Next is kailan ba yung deadline ng filing? Of course, the annual deadline of the filing of returns is 3 months in 15 days. Usually, this is April 15 for fiscal year, taxpayers. Okay, excuse me ha. Hello, Sir Nonito. Si. May yung sasabi. May yung sasabi. Kayo may paman yung paga. Oo, tapos dekal check eh. Si, baka ara siguro kay Bemanada gayot. Porque black. Yan mali ka, Kel. Oh, de ustedes, Kel, di ba? May ustedes pante manda firma. Oh, na eso, sí, eso no sabe porque nasa yung blacklist ko ng ustedes, ano, aquel de ustedes culpa. Okay, sorry guys sa pagbigla akong nawawala kasi may mga clients na tumatawag. Okay. So, let's continue. Again, kailan ba ang deadline ng filing ng returns? Returns usually are to be filed within 3 months and 15 days. If calendar year ka naman, okay, this usually falls on April 15. Paano pag quarterly? Usually, nagpa-file tayo ng quarterly returns using Form 1701QV 2018 for individuals and Form 1702QV 2018 for corporations. So, kailan ba ang deadline for quarterly filing? Of course, may table tayo. Pag individual siya, ang deadline is fixed. Okay? Pero pag corporation, it is as follows. It's 60 days after the end of each quarter. So, kailangan bilangan natin or bilang nyo talaga yung days na to. Okay? So, in order for us to further understand, let's have an example problem. Okay, Henry Corporation uses the following. Okay, and operates between June 1 and May 30. So, I'll give you, it's 3:32, 3:35, I'll call you back and let's answer. So, I'll call someone. Sige, Garcia. Si Garcia will be answering this one. Okay? So, answer mo Garcia kung kailan ipa-file yung mga returns. Okay. So, for the rest, try to answer. Bilangin nyo guys kasi it's very important. Diyan nahihirapan yung iba. Okay, so I'll be back. Okay, sige. We're back na. Wait lang nga, Sinton. May nagpapa-admit. Okay. So, what's the answer? What's your answer?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Miss Garcia.
For the first quarter, sir, ipa-file niya, sir, yung ITR niya, sir, on October 13th, sir. Kasi, sir,
Okay.
since nag-start siya, sir, noong June 1, so the first quarter, sir, is in August. So, in
Okay.
August, sir, after 60 days, sir, which is October 30, it's the first quarter, sir, of filing the ITR. And
Okay.
so, after ng October 30, October
Joanne,
30,
kasi tama
same goes.
on Solid Ventures.
mm,
Pero mas simplified sa kay Chanyale India.
So, sa second quarter naman, same lang, sir, after 60 days na after October 30, which is January 29, and for the third quarter as well. So, para sa ITR naman, if bakit siya September 5th, bakit September 15? Kasi, sinabi yun sa taas na it is 3 months and 15 days, which kay Henry Corporation, na-end yung year niya for this operation on May 30, which is May 30, 3 months and 15 days after is September 15.
Okay, very good. Okay. So, correct lahat ng answers niya. So, October 30, 29, at saka April 29 for the ending. So, for the annual is September 15. Okay. So, we're actually done with the chapter 7. So, ngayon, let's go on to chapter 8. Okay. So, before we go on to chapter 8, kasi mahaba to siya, let's have a 10-minute break muna, guys. Okay? So that everyone can rest muna and can do their personal things. Okay? Tapos nun, we'll go straight to inclusions in gross income. Okay. So, let's have a 10-minute break. It's 3:40. Let's have a 10-minute break and we'll come back at 3:50. Okay? For the rest, inom na kayo ng tubig, ihi na, do your anong gusto nyo gawin. Okay? Magpahinga, matulog ng sandali. Okay, so we'll be back at 3:50. So, I hope na nakapagpahinga rin kayo ng kaunti kasi alam ko sometimes too much info na. Okay. So ngayon bibilisan natin ng kaunti yung discussions natin. So nasa chapter 8 na tayo, inclusions from gross income. So what are the items that are typically included in gross income? Okay? Dito na lang. What are the inclusions? There are 11 inclusions, okay, to gross income. I actually created an acronym, Bridge, CARP, GPP. Okay, so there will be 11 people who will be reciting today for this one. So again, marami pang di nakapag-recite, so I hope that the rest will recite. So sige, for the first one, so what I want you to do is tell me kung bakit siya included as part of gross income. Okay? So for the first one, we have compensation. Sige, nakikita ko si Miss Atoquilla. Sige, kindly discuss kung bakit siya part. Sige, Miss Atoquilla.
So, sir?
Yes.
Okay, sir. So sa compensation, sir, part siya kasi, example, sir, sa proceeds of life insurance policy, example dyan, sir, like, pag patay na talaga, ay hindi excluded siya, excluded siya sa tax, kung example, may debt talaga or may, like,
We're talking about compensation, ha?
compensation for injuries for sickness, sir. For example, dito, sir, is sa sir, sa like sa work, sir. Sa work, example, wag na lang sa work. Doon na lang, sir, sa nabangga. Pag example, nabangga ka, then ang matatanggap mo ditong damages, example, nawalan ka ng hindi ka naka-work ng, for example, 1 month, yung ano ba yung tawag dyan? Parang ang damages mo dun, parang babayaran ka dun, and hindi yun siya included sa tax kasi not siya included sa tax, sir. Parang
Okay.
excluded siya.
Okay, wait,
Sorry, sir.
I think magulo yung explanation mo.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can somebody else come and help her? De La Peña. De La Peña.
Sir, good
Yes.
afternoon, sir.
Sige. Bakit kasali ang compensation?
Kasi sir, parang may benefit sir sa employees sir para sa subject to regular tax.
Okay. Further expound. Can you further can you expound on that? Sige, Guadalupe.
Parang sir, like
Sige.
The compensation for service in whatever community is subject to
Wait ah.
regular tax.
Choppy yung ano mo. I cannot hear you clearly. Choppy pa rin.
Naka-data lang kasi ako, sir.
Sige, sige na. Okay.
Okay na po.
Okay na.
As to compensation for service in whatever form paid, sir, is subject to regular tax because, di ba, as mentioned kanina,
Hello? Nawala man siya. Okay. Ako na lang. Okay. Bakit ba kasali ang compensation income? Okay. So typically, compensation income in whatever form or shape, okay, is included because usually these are in the form of employee benefits granted to employees or to people who are working. Okay. So di ba, as what I explained kanina sa RIT, it's one of the first items that are typically included. Usually, it's under an employee-employee relationship. Therefore, it should be included as part of gross income. May na-earn ka naman at may ginawa kang serbisyo. That's why it's included as part of gross income. Okay, so meron na tayong compensation. Next, business. Can anyone tell me business? Mr. Go.
Yung business sir ano yung two yung elements of gross income sa business sir available yung tatlo, may return on capital, may increase in net worth siya, and tapos may benefit din yung yung nag yung owner ng business through trade yung sa business na ino-own niya, and yun sir na may
Okay.
mga revenue siya through his business.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Go. So for businesses, of course, it's included because again, it meets the requirements for inclusion or an element in gross income. Furthermore, 'di ba? Ang business, 'di ba? You are conducting this for the sole purpose of making money or increasing your worth. So whether regardless kung legal or illegal or whether registered or unregistered, sinasali natin siya. Okay? So, yung gross income from dito ay computed as follows naman, di ba? Meron tayong sales less cost of sales. We will have gross income from operations. Okay. So, typically, the following business income shall be included in gross income but subject to regular income tax. Okay? Shall not be subjected to ano. So yung itong following daw hindi subjected. Number one, yung business income exempt from tax. Kasali dito yun sa mga barangay micro business entity at saka yung mga nag-enjoy ng tax holidays. Number two, yung mga subject sa special tax regime katulad ng PEZA, TIEZA at saka yung mga employed sa or people who are self-employed and opted for the 8% tax rate. And number three is yung mga people who are subjected to final tax. Okay. So typically, bakit ba kasali yung mga people engaged or why are businesses included? Because of course, it follows that typically nagkakaroon tayo ng return on capital and it increases our net worth. So therefore, it should form part of our gross income. Okay. Next, we have gains from dealings in properties. Can anyone tell me anong gains ang kasali dito? What types of gains ba ang kasali? Sige, libre.
So for gains or losses in dealing, ordinary assets are subject to regular income tax, but also dealings in capital assets other than domestic tax and real properties are also subject to regular income tax.
Okay, thank you. So for gains on dealings in properties, that was a very good explanation. Okay. So ano na bang kasali? When we have gains in dealings in properties, of course, kasali dito yung mga purchases or sales and losses natin or gains and losses natin from the sale of ordinary assets. Also, kasali dito yung dealings in capital assets, which are not subjected to capital gains tax. Okay, next, interest income. Anong interest income ang kasali? Sinong gustong mag-recite? Okay, Muhammad.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yung interest income is this particularly refers to interest income other than passive interest income subject to final tax. Parang a taxable interest income must have been actually paid out of an agreement to pay interest. It cannot be imputed.
Okay, thank you. So actually, for the interest income, di ba, if you're familiar, interest income is usually subjected to final taxes. However, there are certain forms of interest income which is subjected to regular income tax. So ano nung kasali dito? So we have interest income from lending activities, interest income from bonds and promissory notes, and interest income from bank deposits abroad. So ito yung mga items that are typically considered. Okay. Next is we have rent. Ano, lahat ba ng rent kasali? Can anyone explain to me for the rent? Sige, si Guadalupe. Kasi di siya nakapag-ano kanina.
So rents or income arises from using properties of any class. So income is subject to payment tax. The IRS loans is subject to regular income tax.
Okay, sige. Thank you for that. So for rent, ano ba yung usually kasali dito? Okay? So for rent, actually all forms of rent, although rent is a passive income, any income from rent arising from the leasing of property should be included. Okay? It is therefore subject to regular income tax. Although passive siya, it is one of the items not subjected to final tax. Therefore, all forms of rent income should be subjected to regular income tax. Okay. So what are the special considerations for rent? Kindly take note na lang. We do not have enough time. And these items are very self-explanatory. Okay. Next, royalties. Si Rizel. Anong forms of
Yes, sir.
royalties na kasali?
Yung royalties dito, sir, usually from sources within the Philippines are generally subject to final income tax except when they are active by nature. So pag active siya, sir, and hindi siya subject to final income tax, subject siya to regular income tax, sir. Active royalty income and royalties earned from sources outside the Philippines are subject to RIT.
Okay, thank you. For royalties, the general rule is that for royalties, these are typically subjected to final taxes. However, if the royalty is active, what do we mean by active? Ibig sabihin, continuous ang performance mo dito, continuous yung service na kailangan mong i-render, of course, this will be subject to regular income tax. Example, sa mga guys dito, di ba, nagdo-Dota kayo. Okay, so let's say si Dota, binigtan nyo yung rights niya, di ba? So if continuous yung pag-update ni Dota o yung pag-service ni Dota sa mga rights niya, okay, o sa mga games na pag-update, that is what we call active. Okay. Continuous, di ba, katulad sa Dota, continuous na ina-upgrade yung mga system software, that is active royalty income. Any income earned by Dota from that is active. Meanwhile, di ba may mga games na pag binili mo, hindi na ina-update. As is, where is na, di ba? Yun na. So that is usually what we call passive. Okay. And of course, royalties outside of the Philippines are subject to regular income tax. Okay. So example, sorry. Okay. So let's have an example. Forest Software is a distributor of computer programs and earns royalties from its licensed users. Computer programs are specifically tailored to each client and regular continuing maintenance services are provided. During that year, client softwares or client users remitted a total of 500 in royalty payments. So, yung entire 500,000 is considered as regular income tax since active income siya in this case. Okay. Wait lang ha. Give me 1 minute. May tumatawag. Hi, Ron. Sí, buenas. Sí. Hindi, ano sir, usually a beneficial owner if a company is being owned by another person that is not stated in the ano, in the listed lang. So since si Sir Ashel naman siya beneficial owner, na hindi ato ni si hindi ato ni si Taman State. And because they are the usually beneficial owners, it's a third party that owns the corporation. G. Mm-hmm. Usually ano mo ang gamit ano, amo gamit ako no beneficial owner yan. Si. Kay wait lang. Paano ang rationality niya? There's no beneficial owner kay owner naman siya, it's being owned by a select few people lang man. So usually kada beneficial si the company is being owned by another. Si sige Ron. Gracias. Thank you. Okay, sorry ha. For dividends, can anyone tell me? Sige, Redonya.
So for dividends, these pertain to dividends declared by foreign corporations. So cash, property, and scrip dividends from foreign corporations are items of gross income subject to regular income tax.
Okay, sa ano ba? For dividends earned within the Philippines, kasali ba? Or
Sir,
dividends from domestic corporations pala?
If domestic corporation, sir, 10 per yung subject siya sa 10% final tax if yung recipient is individual taxpayer. And exempt if the recipient is a domestic or resident foreign corporation, sir.
Okay, very good. Okay. So for dividends, typically dividends are only subjected if declared by foreign corporations. Okay. And furthermore, yung subject lang dito is cash, property, and scrip dividends. If ang dividends are granted by domestic, these are typically subject to final tax or exempt pag binigay siya sa domestic or foreign corporation. Furthermore, pag may stock dividends tayo, please take note, stock dividends are exempt, okay, to income tax because wala ka namang na-earn dito. However, pag ang binigay siya stock tapos mamaya pinalit niya or binago niya, of course, mag-change yung nature nito. Okay? Next, for annuities. Sinong annuities? Okay.
Me, sir.
Si Sanglad. Sige.
Yes, sir. So annuities, this excess of annuities payments received by the recipient over premium paid is taxable income in the year of receipt. So for example, sir, nag-purchase ka ng annuity contract for 100,000, so you will pay it annually until you die for 10,000. Pero so the first 10 annual annuity payment is a return of capital. Pero from year 11 year onwards, it is an item of gross income subject to regular income tax.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Sanglad. So for annuities, any amount or excess of annuity payments received by the taxpayer over the premium paid is taxable. So pag nagbayad ka ng 100,000, any amounts in excess of 100,000 is considered as regular income. Okay, for prices and meanings. Sige, si Jamasali.
Okay. Prices and winnings. Prices and winnings that are exempted from final tax are not items of gross income subject to regular income tax. Exempt prices and winnings. Number one, prizes received without effort to join a contest. Number two, prizes in athletic competitions sanctioned by their respective national sports association. Number three, winning from PCSO or Lotto not exceeding 20,000 in amount. The final taxation of prizes and winnings for corporations is not contemplated in the NIRC. Hence, the taxable prizes and winnings of corporations are subject to regular tax income. Meron din po yung sinabi ni DJ na yun kanina may example ni Henry na winning a gambling. Etong taxes, sorry, sorry, naban ako. Prices and winnings, ano po siya? Even though na illegal man siya or legal, as long as you increase net worth, may benefit ka natatanggap, pwede siya.
Okay, thank you for that. So, it's a very clear definition nga at clear pagka-explain ni Ms. Jamasali. So, typically, prices and winnings, if exempt ito, di naman siya masasubject to regular income tax. So, ano bang example ng mga exempt? Meron tayong yung mga prices na di mo sinalihan or di ka nag-effort na mag-join. Okay. Prices in athletic competitions sanctioned by their national respective national sports association. Meron din tayong winnings from PCSO and Lotto as long as di siya umaabot ng 10,000 pesos. Typically, if that's the case, exempt sila. Furthermore, we have the following items subject to taxes. Okay. Pag prices mo is 10,000 or below, subject ka sa regular tax. This is for both winnings within the Philippines and abroad. However, pag more than 10,000 and within the Philippines, subject to siya sa final tax, pero pag abroad, regular tax. Pag Lotto naman, in excess of 10,000, subject siya sa final tax, pero pag less than 10,000, exempt siya. And winnings from other sources is typically subject to final tax. And pag regular tax, pag abroad, regular tax siya. Okay. So yun lang naman. Next is we have for pensions. Sige, Mr. Alba.
So sa pensions, sir, this pertain to pensions and retirement benefits that fail to meet the exclusion criteria and hence subject to regular tax.
Okay. Can you tell me what are, although okay yung answer mo, can you tell me what are the criteria? Nasa exclusion criteria siya. Can you tell me?
Okay, wait, sir. Exclusion. The criteria for exclusion. Wait, ano ba yan? The mga proceeds of, wait lang, ba? Mga proceeds of life insurance, sir.
Hindi. Sa ano? Pensions.
Pensions. Wait. Wait lang, sir. Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Sige. Hindi, okay lang naman. May points ka
Ay,
lang.
wait lang. So, dito, sir, yung exclusions, yung mga income exempt under treaty, yung retirement benefits, yung mga retirement benefit received by officials, reasonable private plan, retiring official or employee who has rendered at least 10 years of service, at least 50 years of age at the time of the retirement, and the benefit of exclusion shall be availed only once.
Okay. So, thank you for that. So, yung exclusion criteria is that, number one, para excluded yung pension mo, dapat you must be 50 years old at the time of retirement. Number two, you must have worked at least 10 years within the company. Number three, there must be a reasonable private pension plan. And number four, this is your first time availing. If you do not meet each of the criteria, yung pension mo masasubject to regular tax. Okay. Next, last, partners. Sige, Santos.
So partners distributable share from the net income of the general professional partnership is not subjected to income tax because they are merely viewed as pass-through entities. And the purpose of this is that the net income of the general professional partnership shall include items of income which are exempted from final tax or capital gains tax to the general professional partnership. So for example, there are two people practices their profession in a general professional partnership. So and they have share profits of 70 is to 40. So the whatever the distributive net income, it should be multiplied to their share profits, and that will be what they that's the income they will receive. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So actually, yung sa partner share of from a GPP, typically general professional partnerships are what we call pass-through entities. Dinadaanan lamang ng income. So any income earned by a GPP is typically not subject to tax. However, yung share na makukuha ng isang partner from there will be subjected to tax. Okay. So that's it uh, for the items included. However, please take note, itong mga inclusions natin dito, these are not exclusive or these are not limited to the list below. Okay? Items of gross income subject to regular income tax are not limited to the aforementioned list. Under NARC, the regular income tax has a catch-all provision. Okay? As long as hindi siya subject to final tax, capital gains, or special tax regime, at saka hindi siya exempted by law, treaty, or contract, lahat ng forms of income na di nakalista dyan dapat maisali. Okay. Furthermore, we have other sources of income subject to regular income tax. Di ko na siya masyadong i-explain kasi naka-explain na siya and it would take up too much time. Okay, number one, income distributions from taxable estates and trusts. Parang similar lang siya sa GPPs dito. Next is share from net income of other pass-through entities, exempt joint venture at saka co-ownership. Number 3, farming income. Number 4, recovery of past deductions. Number 5, reimbursement of expenses. Number 6, cancellation of indebtedness for a consideration. So these are some examples, okay, of other income that are not listed here in the list but are subjected. Furthermore, we have some special considerations. Kindly take note na lang of these considerations. For the situs na discuss na rin natin kanining situs of income, tignan nyo, di ba, sabi ko nga ilang beses siya dinidiscuss again and again. So kindly take note na lang. Okay? And ngayon, we're almost done. Last chapter na tayo. Exclusions from gross income. So ano-anong items ba ang excluded from gross income? So there are still Sampang, Pandangan, and Galvez ang di nakapag-recite today. Okay, so I'll give them the chance. Okay, so what do we mean by exclusion? Sige. Sino ba nagre-raise ng hand? Si Pandangan, sige. What do we mean by exclusion?
Exclusion, sir, ito yung mga income na hindi siya taxable kasi exempted siya by the law or treaty. Such tax-free income is not to be included in the income tax return unless information regarding it is specially called for. May two reasons siya. Yung number one, the item of receipt does not fall within the definition of income for income tax purposes. Like yung damages recovered in libel and slander suits, damages recovered for alienation of affection, damages recovered for breach of promise to marry, damages recovered for loss of life of spouse, damages recovered in annulment of marriage. Yung number two reason is a provision of the tax code or special law exempt it from income tax.
Okay, thank you for that. Very good example. Okay. So, what do we mean by exclusion? Exclusion typically refers to income received or earned but is not taxable as income is exempted by law or treaty. Such as tax-free income is not to be included in the income tax return unless information regarding this is specifically called for. So typically exclusion, what we mean by exclusion is hindi talaga siya isasali from the income. Okay. So, what are the different items that are excluded? Okay, so I created an acronym again. Meron tayong graphic, PICPA, FERA 135. Okay. So can Miss, si Pandangan yung nag-recite, no? Okay. Si Sampang, can Sampang, give me one, ano bang example? Oh, give me one example. Oh, yung letter G na lang. Oh, Sampang. Yung if you're done with recitation, of course, let's give the others a chance. Sige, si Sampang, is she here? Wala si Sampang. O, si Galvez na lang. Kasi wala pa si Galvez.
Sir, so gifts and bequest and devices. Reason that they are excluded from gross income is that they are subject either to estate tax or donor's tax.
Okay.
But the income from such property is taxable. If the taxpayer inherits securities, the values of such securities does not constitute income, but the dividends and interest paid on such securities are taxable.
Okay.
Principal paid under a marriage settlement and alimony or allowance based on separation agreement are considered as gifts. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So, eto guys mabilisan na ako kasi naka-acronym naman to. Pero if you want for an in-depth discussion nito, don't worry, nasaan na to? Nasa PowerPoint natin at nasa book nyo. I hope, by the way, do you have the book already? Yung kay Banggawan?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so good if you have the book, okay? It's very clear and concise. So I hope na nababasa nyo. Ang dami problema lang, ang dami sinasabi ni Banggawan. Okay. So, yun nga sabi ni Mr. Galvez. Okay. Sige, ready na tayo guys. Mabilisan to ha. Magra-wrap ako. Okay. So, what are the items that are excluded? So, we have graphic, PICPA, PERA 135. So, first of all, gifts, bequest, device, and descent are excluded because by virtue, these are not exchange transactions. These are gratuitous transfers wherein typically these are done through transfers through donations or through what's the second one? Donations or estate transfers. So therefore, isang tao lang nagbibigay. So it does not meet the criteria, and therefore this is subject to a transfer tax. Okay. So hindi siya mako-consider, that's why it's excluded. Number 2, retirement benefit. So the government, by virtue of their knowledge, sabi nila, of course, nagtrabaho ka na ng ilang dekada ng buhay mo, of course, you should enjoy your retirement benefit. So provided that you meet the requirements, any amount that you receive as retirement benefit should be exempted. So examples of retirement benefits is yung sa mga reasonable private benefit plan, as long as you are 50 years old, work for the company for 10 years, and this is your first time availing of this, of course, exempt yung amount na makukuha mo. This also includes social security benefits given by a foreign government to Filipinos, benefits under the USBA or Veterans Office, SSS benefits, PhilHealth benefits or GSIS benefits, and any other benefits for the retirement of a person. Okay. Bakit ini-exempt to? Of course, sabi ng gobyerno, matanda ka na, and the Philippine government and we Filipinos typically grant these benefits. Di ba? Maawain tayo sa mga matatanda. That's why typically retirement benefits are exempt. Letter A, amount received by insured as a return of premium. So pag kumuha ka ng insurance policy at di ka namatay, usually ang nangyayari is that sinasauli sa'yo yung amount na binayaran sa'yo. Sometimes pag swerte ka, more than di ka namatay, di ba? Isasauli sa'yo yung bayad na amount na binayaran sa'yo. So yung amount na sinuli sa'yo, of course, this is merely as a return of capital. Okay, return of capital lang. So therefore, since return of capital lang siya, it should be excluded because it does not meet the definition. However, pag sinwerte ka at yung amount na sinuli sa'yo sobra, yung in-excess amount na binayaran mo ay magiging taxable. Letter P, proceeds of life insurance. Ito, related to sa infinite value. Pag namatay yung isang tao, okay, or may nangyari sa kanya or tinamaan ng COVID at namatay siya, any amount paid for life insurance is merely a return of the life that is lost. Items with infinite value are only act as a mere return of capital. Okay, sinasauli mo lang yun na walang buhay. Letter I, income exempt under treaty. Of course, income that are generally exempt under treaty is excluded from taxation or excluded from gross income. Letter C, compensation income from sickness or injuries. Again, itong mga compensation income, again, this is related to uh, return of capital for items with indefinite value. Di ba, pag nagkasakit ka, or nasaktan ka dahil sa act ng isang tao at binayaran ka niya, items na yon or typically compensations paid in behalf for those items are only considered as a return of capital or health that is lost. Therefore, pag may binayaran siya sa'yo, as long as this is not recovery of lost profits, okay, is exempt from taxation. Okay. So, okay na tayo sa graphic. Okay. Any questions muna for graphic?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, we go to PICPA Pera 135. So PICPA, letter P, prizes, awards in recognition of Scarcel. So pag nanalo ka doon ng prizes and awards in recognition for your achievements in scientific, charitable, artistic, religious, civic, educational, and literary events or activities, of course, exempted to from taxation. Bakit? Kasi the government is proud of you. Diba? They would want to or they would want Filipinos to excel in these activities. So gusto nila nag-excel ka sa Scarcel. Okay? So that's why if nanalo ka dito at di ka naman nag-join or di ka sumali talaga but binigay lang sa'yo, of course exempted. For example, yung mga Nobel Peace Prize at saka mga similar awards. Okay, letter I, income of the government and its political subdivision. Bakit to exempt? Of course, we go back to the inherent limitation. Any income earned by the government is taxable. However, it would be counterproductive and costly for the government to tax its own income na wala naman siyang nakukuha. Okay. Letter C, contributions to SS, PHI, CHDMF, and union dues are exempt. Bakit? Because the government, number one, because it is required by law. This is to help Filipinos alleviate their lives. Diba? In order for Filipinos to invest and in order to protect themselves, sabi ng gobyerno, okay, itong SS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig at saka may union dues, i-exempt natin to sila. Para yung mga Pinoy, with contribute or maganahan mag-contribute. Okay, letter F. Income of foreign governments or foreign GOCCs in the Philippines. Okay, again, this is related to the inherent limitations. Do you still remember SPINE? Diba? International Committee, each nation or we should treat each nation as sovereign of equal value to the Philippine government. Therefore, any income earned by this nation should not be taxed. So that's why income earned by any foreign nation and its subsidiaries and including foreign GOCCs owned by that government is exempt from taxation. Respeto lang. Okay. Letter A, athletic sports competition, awards and prizes. So pag nanalo ka daw ng basketball or boxing, as long as you are representing the Philippines, will be exempt from taxation provided that it is sanctioned by the National Sports Association. So example, si Pacquiao. Pag naglalaro si Pacquiao, taxable yun. Bakit? Pacquiao is actually not representing the Philippines but his personal interest. Yung mga exempt is sumasali ka sa mga Asian Games or SEA Games, sa mga Olympics. These are items that are exempt. Okay. Next, pera. Ano tong pera? It is personal equity retirement account. So ano tong pera? The government would want or encourages people, Filipinos typically, to save up money. And how do we do this? By ensuring that kung anong kino-contribute mo or anong kikitain mo from this account or itong pera na to is exempt from taxation. Di ba kasi sabi nila, mga Pinoy daw gastador. Okay, or magastos. So, in order for Filipinos or in order for the government to ensure that Filipinos would have a better life and better quality of life, okay, they encourage Filipinos to invest in the pera account. Itong pera retirement to. Okay. However, 'di ba, since para to give more benefits, sabi nila, okay, if mag-i-invest ka dito, i-exempt na namin yung income mo dito. So this is one of the benefits granted in the investment of the pera. Okay? Next is 113 or 13. Okay, so ano tong 13? This tells us that any 13th month pay paid for or other benefits as long as it is not exceeding 90,000 is exempt from taxation. So pag nagbigay daw sa'yo ng 13th month at saka other benefits yung employer mo, exempt siya from taxation. Okay. Next, 5. Gains from sale of bonds and debenture with COI with maturity of more than 5 years. So ang sinasabi dito is that if may gains ka or if you invest in bonds, debenture, or certificate of indebtedness for more than 5 years, okay, i-exempt ko yung kita mo dyan or any income you have there. Bakit? This is the government's way of encouraging people in saving. Okay, saving money. Bakit ba gusto ng gobyerno na nagsisave tayo ng money? Actually, this is a way in order for the government to reduce the outflow expenses and in order for the government to increase money in order for big companies to have funds. This would improve actually the economy. Diba? And in order for that to happen, sabi niya, okay, as long as you invest it for 5 years or more, exempt na yung income na earn mo dito. Bakit nangyayari to? This is to encourage the people to save and not spend. Di ba? The more we spend, actually, it's bad for the economy. Okay? Too much spending is bad. That's why too much spending, which is unreasonable spending at saka it would not benefit the government or the society is bad. Okay. That's why spending is being limited and redirected. So kapag sabi ng gobyerno, okay, pag nag-invest ka sa mga items na to, of course, i-exempt namin yung income mo. And lastly is gains from redemptions in mutual fund. Again, it all goes back to savings. Okay, the government would want people to save money. So as a way is that pag nag-invest ka do sa mutual funds, okay, i-exempt natin yung income mo. So this is one of the reasons kung bakit exempted ang mutual funds. So that's it for the exemption. We have graphic, PICPA, PERA 135R. Okay. Are there any more questions, clarifications, and or concerns?
Ano, sir?
Wala. Okay.